Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided.
Excuse me, I'm just trying to determine whether we have a sound output happening. Can somebody let me know whether the sound was working okay? There was sound, okay. Good, well, we'll carry on then.
And use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent His messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose, but by them understanding through those who have become messiahs to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. the soul of the collective awareness by giving will create a position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of the president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look to our soul, we see nothing but a star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand, to be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle, which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve, become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 499th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 17th, 2023. This is the broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host today. And we're hosting Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation for the 499th time in this format. And we welcome you, Mr. Keshe, once again to be here to give us another batch of knowledge and understanding. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation and Spaceship Institute. As usual, we welcome you back and look forward to learn a little bit more, a little bit more educated in different dimensions and directions of the work of the universe and ourselves. As our soul is part of the universe, we are part of this integrated system. We are not odd one out, even though we think so. Even if you're lonely in a desert, we're still part of the system. We cannot run away from it. We have a soul and we have a physicality. And even lose life in desert, our soul becomes part of the universe. And if we die in palaces as residents, we'll still go to the same place. It's just a matter of where you leave this physicality behind. And how you have made peace with it, and how you make peace with it. And if in your cycle of life, you were a cause or a step forward for that peace, doesn't matter for you, or an animal, another creature, or even the soul and soul of physicality of yourself. As usual, we have some small announcements and things to catch up as what's happening around the foundation. As you're aware, in about more or less 10 days time, the first group of knowledge seekers who join us in Manchester will have the same first session of the first steps towards what we call the space technology in a new ways. We still have a lot of people shuffling and shivering from Manchester to London, so there are still a couple of places if somebody wants to join us, as some people have moved their position to London suddenly. And anyway, the London venue is going to be an amazing session, because maybe some of you have already noticed and some of you have not noticed. We had to move the venue of the meeting with the world ambassadors to the Saturday, the 11th of November. Those of you who are familiar with the Western world work, 11th of November is a day of peace. It's the day when the guns in the First World War went silent. And most of the Europe celebrates this day, 11th day of the 11th month. And as is traditional here in London, on the 11th hour at 11 minutes, the King of England, a senator, lays flower for the dead at the beginning of the peace or end of war. It's good to be in London that day, and we have invited many dignitaries who are in London and politicians to be as part of the end of the war, beginning of the peace, and beginning of the world peace. Technology in exchange for peace. And it's just by coincidence or deliberate we had to move it, but it's turned out to be very beautiful the way it is. When man decided to stop the war, but he went to war again a few years later, but still celebrates the end of two wars. We will not be very far from St. where the conference will take shape. And maybe as part of us on Saturday or a Sunday, as tradition is, and when I used to live in London, we always try to go near as possible to St. to pay respect for those who died by the ignorance of man. So be prepared that on Saturday and Sunday 11 and 12, you'll feel the feeling of the whole nation is in the mood of peace, remembering the dead with the poppies, which is tradition which goes with this time. Maybe we bring new flower of peace and new understanding. Join us in bring the wish of totality, and we'll see where we go. We are inviting the Iranian ambassador to London. Chinese ambassador and dignitary from Chinese embassies will be invited. The American ambassador and American embassy staff, they have always promised us the next world ambassador will be there. We'll see if they stand to their commitment. We'll have the Russians and the Ukrainians invited to the same peace talks, table of peace. We test the world leaders and the governments to their commitment to peace, technology in exchange for peace, knowing that we have the backing of two nations, and we are there to show one of the breakthroughs in the space technology that many, many scientists have been waiting for centuries. Don't forget, this comes on the back of a week, 5 days before, of the second session of the what we call preparation for the final stage in Beijing in December. Many people are shifting from what we call the Manchester to London venue because they think they want to be there. But whoever attends the Manchester venue is automatically qualified for London. And so we see how it comes and how things will turn out to be. The process of peace has to come with a change in technology. The process of peace has to come with an understanding of the technology that can bring that change. In the past days, in the past week, Keshe Foundation has stepped forward in what we call confirmation of the technology by leading scientists in China. In a way, the technology is accepted in totality as a breakthrough. And this gives us the springboard we were looking for. In a way, by what we call the elite scientists, step by step, approving and seeing the results of the technology at the end, at the highest where a lot of people don't see, where we are proving the technology, we are opening doors. And hopefully, within next year, the next couple of years, we'll see major breakthroughs right across the technology, not only in China, but most probably to Iran. We will show technologies which brings the soul of the man into operation, not the physicality of aircrafts, submarines, UFOs, and the rest. And this will be the breakthrough. The way we have shown, we have changed what we call matter to energy and energy to matter. Now we show how we change the man to energy. This is the beauty of the new space technology, traveling through the soul of the man. And this will shock many world leaders. This brings new dimension to space technology, where we can show we can expand the soul of the man and transmute the man across borders. We'll set our utmost by December to complete this task. And in the, what we call Beijing conference, we will show you the beauty of this, how you travel through the soul, through the dimension of excitement of the soul, through understanding. And this will bring the next step to understanding the totality. What would be the next step? What would be the next understanding? What would be the totality of the understanding of the work? One of the most amazing things for us in the 11th of November, in a meeting with all the ambassadors, it will be if we get and bring the audacity of the Iranian ambassador, Iranian dignitaries sitting next to the American and Israelis, as we saw in the last ambassadorial meeting in Rome, Palestinian ambassadors amongst the others. And this will be a wonderful step. This will be the next step in a way to bring the next step of peace. Then we strive to reach the next step. Showing technologies to the world ambassadors that they could not believe it exists. They get involved in it, they'll be in it, and there's no way to deny. As I said to the Chinese scientists, the best thing is to deliver it while you're watching it, to taste it while you're sitting in it, and then understand it. We bring systems and technologies into London that the world ambassadors can feel, understand, and bring themselves to be able to explain to the nations and to their president what is the change. In one point or another, we strive to show what the soul is, how you operate through your soul, how we have ignored our creator, how we have ignored our controller, how we have ignored the understanding of our own creation. What is this? What happened to you when you go to space? You travel the dimension of space. As I said before, when we did the first lifts, about this time, in 2008, in Tehran Sharif University Research Center, one question raised amongst all of us, without a doubt. And when I sat with the Iranian officers from the office of Ahmadinejad, he said, okay, we achieved lift, we achieved motion. What's next? What do? We arrive on the moon. What do? We just got there. What do we have to do to be more natural? What do we have to do to be more understanding? And as I said in the teaching of the past weeks, what we call the next technology started. Delivery of the next technology, completion of totality. I arrive on the moon. What's next? As the children always say in the backseat of the car, have we arrived yet? Are we there yet? We were there physically. We could get our crafts on the moon, on the Mars. We can get our souls on the surface of the moon and turn up to be the strength of our soul is the strength of the stone, or is the strength of the animal we don't even know in the depth of the ocean of the waters of one planet or another. But what is next? How do we create a condition of life? And this question for us became the next target. We achieved flight. What is next? What do? How do we feed ourselves? How do we create environment that we can live natural life? We don't live like monkeys in suits like the Americans do in the space now. Did you say, if it was real, astronauts cuddling and kissing each other, or was it just pieces of metal and cloth banging against each other? Who likes to live in what we call an oil drum when you're on the moon, where you cannot do anything outside, and your daughter, your son, your wife, your lover is in another drum next to? We create a condition of life. This became a question. And we strive further to understand what happened if you go sick. What happened, we can bring you there faster. And that said, in the writing of the first and second book, and then releasing of the knowledge about the gas technology, conversion of the matter to energy. And now we understand that energy. We call it the soul of the man. We call it the whatever. And how do we, in transition, convert this energy into a mass, into physicality, in a dimension of life on Moon or Mars, or another position in the universe? We miscalculate on the way going to Mars. We remember the beauty. We forgot to kiss our daughter to say goodbye when I left Earth. I'm going to kiss goodbye. I land on another planet in another universe. What am I going to do? I know where the Earth is, but how am I going to behave? I become a stone in this environment. I become a creature which I do not know, but my soul is aware of my existence. What's next? And what do we do next? How far can we push this? How can I get out of this position? How can I go back to Earth? I'm a stone on the moon, feeling the emotion and the strength of the field of the environment and other conditions on other stones. But what's next? What is the capability? What's the capacity? What is the knowledge? And how far can we push this for us to understand? To go through the transition, to go through the conversion, go through transmutation. These are part of the technologies, which in the upcoming sessions we will teach. We'll try to explain for you to understand. You cannot teach this knowledge. You have to feel this knowledge. It has to become the second skin of the soul of the man and not the physicality of the man. In a way, in English, when we say second skin, it means that be literally home with it, understand it. It's very much reflex. What I arrived, I changed the matter. Understanding of this, transition of the energy of the soul of the man to the physicality of the time, place, and position becomes a priority. It becomes the truth about our lives. It becomes what we have to understand. And to what extent can we accept this? And to what extent can we extend this? Because for many of us to understand, there is much more beyond, and in the depth of the universe, and then in this village of man called Earth. How do we react? How do we go? How do we change? What happens even if I come from Africa and I land in China? I don't know the language, or do I feel the language? I speak through the emotion. I understand the culture through the understanding of the culture of the soul. We need to learn this. We need to understand this. As in the depth of the universe, there are no language school classes to go to, and there are no evening classes to go on. There are languages. Learning, communication has to be natural, second course, second life of the man. Does not matter where man lives and where man will go, and to what extent man will tend to extend his knowledge to this limit. We sit in the room, we have translators, we don't understand the emotion of the language, but we see the body language and the face and what the things talked about, and the translator half of the time does not even understand himself what is translating, because he doesn't have the essence of our word in the totality of the language and in understanding the language. And then you sit with something very strange and very comical. You talk about the weather, translator speaks about how the business is. And then you look and you understand, they're laughing, and you look, why they're laughing? You spoke about something which you thought you understood and it was easy to translate. But the translator does not understand the essence of the culture in how you spoke, takes it as is in dictionary. Can you do that with your soul? Can you make that mistake on the Mars or the moon? How will you handle it? Or we still stick to the what we call fallacy of the totality of understanding. The fallacy of that we know, the fallacy of we've done it, we should be able to do it. How do we practice? You know that in a board of computer, you have a sandbox you can practice. Where do we practice this on Earth? How we as scientists create that sandbox for you as the citizens to be able to go through that transition, to go through that phase, to go through that testing. We make you so many pools, as Alex did in Nigeria. One pool is the feeling and emotion and the sense of the Mars, and one pool is emotion and feeling of the another planet in the universe. What pool? How do we teach each other? But you got to understand, in the world of the man, the pool has the water, and we connect ourselves to it. In the pools of the upcoming sessions of man to learn, these are pools of fields, magnetic fields, gravitational fields, plasmatic fields. And to what extent would we be able to know how to tune and which pool to land in? This is what is on the card. This is what we are setting up now to get to this understanding. This is what now we are setting up to create that condition. This is an upcoming session of the teaching. A pool session, a pool of knowledge, a pool of emotion, a pool of understanding the totality of the transition. But the most interesting part for many of you knowledge seekers will be, can we do it in the mass? Can we, as a family, decide we're going to the park in the center of Tehran, and one of us turns up on the top of a building in New York because there was a mis-emotion? How do we tune souls that we all end up in the same place, with the same dream, with the same understanding? All this needs to be taught to them. In a physical life, we hold each other's hand not to get lost in the crowd. How do we connect our souls together that we end up in the same place? One of the interesting things which man will learn is very simple. And you will understand how to hold hands, how to be connected. This brings a totality, a new subject, a new understanding of connection of fields. Look at the structure of the universe. Look at the structure of the life. How do planetary systems connect to each other? But follow the rules of the plasma. Follow rules of the interaction of the fields. The best teacher for man is the creation. And the creation to be understood by its true sense, not by matter sense. Otherwise, man will fall from another, what I call, pigeonhole of ignorance to another one, the way we have done in many parts of the physics and understanding and life on this planet. Look at the universe. What do you see? Look at your solar system. What do you understand? Very interesting. Look at the sun. Sun is moving in which direction? Then you go by the law of physics. North Pole connects to the South Pole, and understand that the opposite polarity of the field forces has to create dimensional field. In a very interesting way, which way does Earth move? But Earth itself is connected with a stronger field to the moon. Which way does moon move?
Then you understand how you have to connect the soul of your son, your wife, your lover, and your dog, that they all fall end out in one place. Nature of the creation teaches you. Natural process of the creation teaches you. And as we said many times, how can you change the clockwise to anti-clockwise? Why does our system stop and reverse its direction of motion? How do you do that with the soul of the man? That instead of approaching, we create distance from one another. How do you create two fields at the same time, that your gravitational matches to the earth and your magnetical rejects the surface of the moon? And these are the tests of time. These are the tests of the scientists, the knowledge seekers of the future, to open up. In opening up new dimensions, in opening up the new structures, in opening to understand the plasma as a parallel science and technology in respect to the matter state. It's time for us to understand the creation, the world of creation and the dimension of fields. The teaching is not to show you system. The teaching is to enlighten you, to give you a new direction and dimension, to bring the totality. As I said to one of the, what I call powerful man of the science very recently, God has no pattern. How do you want us to pattern his work? Does pattern worth anything on the moon and has a pattern submitted on earth as anybody going under the universe? Then what the heck are we patterning? Why are we limiting the knowledge of the creation to piece of papers and computers which worth nothing a few meters above this planet? If man learns to teach unconditionally the way we do, if man learns to teach directly the way we do, there is no need for pattern, because then we set the pattern of the creation in the soul of the man, in the dimension of physicality, understanding of the totality of the creation. What this means, it means we understand how interaction with the fields has led to the creation of the creator. And then we understand how we as created become to be created from the interaction of the same fields. Is that field the sun? And is our soul earth? Or is it one of the satellites which is connected to the dimension of the bigger planetary system which we don't see? How does our soul position itself in respect to the position of the creator? How many intermediaries, magnetic fields, and pattern of and shape of the galaxies and universes is between us and the creator? Is the point of enlightenment comes when we are in the opposite direction. Motion doesn't matter how many intermediaries as with the creator, or in the same direction as creator. What do we get when we travel the opposite way? The friction, the release of energy is the dimension of creation. One of the biggest things which I have over-explained, and it's very hard for a lot of knowledge seekers, even scientists to understand, is that the interaction of two fields, two plasmatic fields, has frictions, creates fields in the upper atmosphere with the inertia changes to matter. But what is the interaction of our soul with the other souls that we don't see? What plasmatic fields, the dimension of the dynamic soul of the man, creates with the other souls crossing the street, being on the planet? Do we, without knowing, creating plasmatic fields? We have to, but because it's so minute, it's so small, we have come to ignore it because we have no knowledge of it. The ignorance comes from a lack of what we call understanding. Then it comes to a lot of points. Why these plasmas are created, why these interactions of the plasmas interaction of our plasma, our soul with other, create an invisible field of plasmas, which we have always. Are those plasmas at any time created? You cross on the man on the street, your soul is dynamic, his soul is dynamic, and somewhere in the fields they interact. What happened with that field? The interaction of the fields of the earth and the sun creates the daylight. What is the interaction of our soul with another soul passing next? It does not matter. Our physicality is a meter away or rub shoulder to shoulder with each other. As I explained to you many times, if you have a child, if you have a lover, hold them next to you and see how you feel them move through the what I call the soul, not the dimension of physicality. Do you see a light? And what is the expansion of this light? What the extraction of this light to dimension of physicality explains to you about your emotion with what you're holding. We feel, oh, he's holding me tight. Oh, he's holding me lovingly. Oh, he's holding me the way I could dream. But you're looking in the soul. The guy is thinking about the other lover. I'm just the object of the affection from that other. No, is it truly about it? And then next time when the lover holds you, and know what it is, you feel that he knows how to hold you. The true love, the true affection, because you feel a tightness or a pressure and you think he loves me? Or is it actually the serving of the souls that you recognize I'm not? The truth, the true understanding. Then you understand even the life, everyday life, our interaction with our partners, with our lovers, with our children, with our parents, with our friends, with the society will change. Because we become wise to do dimension physicality, and dimension of the soul. And this is what all these teachings are, to open your eyes, to teach you to understand the interaction of the fields. This becomes important for you because you will understand why in a space technology you want to go to the planet. And through the emotion of the soul, it tells you all the energy you carry where you come from. This planet is dangerous. It can create your demise. Or a planet welcomes you because your fields is the same as it is, and it brings them health, it brings them a teaching, it brings them a strength. Then you understand what we tell you to understand through explanation of the lover and the child and holder is not the same as you think about the physicality. It's to open your eyes in where you land with your soul. Is it good for you? Or who you come across as the fields of the plasma, is it in a way life for you, or is it a demise for you of your soul? Teaching of the Keshe Foundation is not about the lovers and about the interaction of the physicality. It's about to compare, to understand, as the man is so physical, the truth about himself in the dimension of the soul, in the dimension of the physicality of existence. Then this teaches you in a space. This does not feel good. This is not a place for me because most of the spectrum of the energies that I'm created, I can give is more than this planet can take. I can put it in danger when other creature in touch in front of me, or it become dangerous to me, that it can endanger my condition of life as a plasma. Then you understand. Life in space takes a different meaning if you understand it in the dimension of physicality, but test it here. Next time, when you hold your lover, and he or she holds you tight, and he or she tells you, I love you, and you feel the pressure and the love and the tightness and the joy you want to give back, you can feel the soul. Is it really squeezing me, or the ex-lover, or the girl has been with, or the man has been with before, or he likes to be, I'm just a replacement, or is it the true love? Do I feel the interaction of the souls? Do I take and do I give? Do I enlighten him with mine? And don't forget, he knows the same as you do. We cannot lie to each other. This is where most of the relationships on this planet falls apart, because man always looks at the interaction of physicality, but does not see the dimension of wheels, interaction of the soul of the man, the creator of the man. In this piece, we have to be aware of it. As I always say, you have no choice. You're in it. You better understand it, or you will not be in it, because there's nothing of you left to be part of it. Then it comes to the process. In the next coming times, what feeling, what emotion, what colors and interaction of the fields means to me and my soul recognizes. This way, you start in a way calibrating soul. What feelings of what dimension of the emotion and interaction means to me. And this is like, I hear a shouting, I hear a talk, I hear a whisper, I hear no noise. And what does each one means to me? This emotion of this level means danger. This level of emotion to the soul means life. This level means I'm endangering someone. And so we learn, we understand, we extend and we expand. Then in that process, we learn about the travel of the soul, the expansion of the soul, the understanding of the soul. And in that process, to what extent do we understand about ourselves, about our soul, about the creation of the man, and about the manifestation of the man in every dimension, in every level of the existence. Man is made in the image of the Creator, when the man is Creator himself. Now, what do you create? How do you interact with your own creation? And what does your creation means to you in essence of the emotion of the soul of the man? It's energy levels, not dimension of physicality. As you cuddle your child, the child says, "Mom, you're strangling me, you're squeezing me too tight," where you want to show your love, and your child feels losing life because you're too strong for it. You cannot take in the dimension of physicality. You've forgotten about your strength. Or when you're a very beautiful, slim person and the partner is a giant and he squeezes you, he shows his love, but you're losing your breath. Then you understand this is the same in the dimension of the creation in the soul of the man. Is the field I come in touch with to embrace. Is it good for me? I don't look at the size of it, I look at the strength of it. If it's the dimension of my life, is it good for me to receive, and do I have enough to give? Then we understand the position of love, the position of understanding of life in space takes a new dimension. While we are getting squeezed to be loved, to be held, to be loved, we are looking at the dimension of the soul. Don't forget, the ears are next to each other and the souls are connected and interacting. Now we read two messages, one in the dimension of the soul and one in the dimension of physicality. And this will bring you a new dimension of life. Try it next time. Put your ear and head next to your lover when he or she is asleep, and see with thoughts how you can wake her up. With love thoughts, with whatever you think, and see if it says, does the bell ring? Can you tell her I love you, and hold her to the dimension of the soul of physicality And next morning she wakes up, says, I had a dream, you're holding me and telling me I'm try it. It has a wonderful effect. I've done it many times. I do that with my children quite often when they were little. And it's amazing. You don't wake them up to wake up. You just put your head near them and you wake them up to the soul. And it's time to get the physicality going. And they just sit up and stand up and sit on the bed. And you look at their eyes and die for that first time. It opens at the first beautiful thing she sees in his or her life. It is the first thing that you can carry the soul of the message of love through the eye, through the soul. Next time, when you're lying next to your lover or your child, lie there and wake them up to the soul. And watch when their eyes opens and you feel the emotion of the soul. It's the first flash, it's the soul trying to come into balance. And then you understand how man will travel the depth of the space with the children and lovers and the others. Now you understand what he was said from the beginning. Thou shalt not lie. Now you understand what exactly means, as it's you who actually deprives yourself not to be able to interact, not to be able to live in the dimension of the energy of man and not the dimension of physicality. I hope you understand what the teaching of today is about. And I hope you understand when you put you in the cycle of these processes in the next few weeks and months, you're ready for it. Don't forget, you're not the religious cults, and you're not those who do funny things. We test the dimension of true cycle of life, true existence, by understanding the value of the life, the love of the life, and the world of the creation. We go for a small break and we come back, and then we're ready to answer any questions. Rick, if you like to take us through your normal advertising, please. And then it gives us a chance to break up in the next session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We'll be back in a few minutes after these videos. Okay, thank you very much. This is the 499th Knowledge Seekers Workshop.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
This is what you see is what is to come. It's the first time you see the Space Center Wellness Center. These systems can reach man in the deepest part of the universe. As you can see, the transmutation and transportation of the soul and the physicality is within the system. And you will see each system on its own. It can reach all conditions of unwellness of the body of the man operated by doctors. It is part of the space program. And for the first time, we show what is to come. And these machines have been operating for past 12 months. We know how they work. And some of you who've been to LINS sat in some of these systems. Now they've been positioned as one of the first wellness centers in the world. Now you see the future of wellness, feeding and making peaceful man out of the man. In this center in coming months, hundreds of these units will be installed. And more or less anyone in the world can reach. As you can see, there is room enough to add huge number, and the doctors will monitor everything remote. This is more or less the hospitals of tomorrow with no patients.
Okay, here we are back at the 499th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin the second portion of the show here?
Yes, ready, willing, I hope able. I don't know about that, but yes, we can try.
Okay, would you like to take questions now, or is there something else you'd like to say before then?
No, it's interesting what you showed us part of the new space systems. We are entering a new era in the world of creation. We are entering a new era in understanding the energy side of the world of creation and the matter side. And it's important for us to be very clear about this. I was explaining this And I explained this before in the last teaching. We try to go back on it every now and then, that for knowledge seekers and the newcomers to understand. We are not talking about a separate thing with the Keshe Foundation technology. We are talking about the energy side of the life, which we have ignored. Energy side of the creation, where in the life of the man, we deal with the physicality of the man, the car, the hand, the table, the chair, the food, where we have ignored the fields of the universe, which keeps the planetary system apart. The fields of the universe, which creates the separation of ourselves from each other. The fields of our plasma of life, which even separates our soul from our physicality, even though it's entrapped within. So we are not creating something new. We are understanding what is there, who has kept us apart. We knew about it, but we ignored it. Now we are trying to understand the system, its technology, and in that way, we see the totality. In that way, we come to understand what we call the two parts of the creation, the matter side and the field side. Up to now, we went with Newton, we went with God knows every science of understanding the speed, the rotation, that God knows angles and distances. Now we have to understand about the strength. Now we have to understand about the interaction of the fields, because there's a strength and these interactions, and the strength of the change creates the dimension of separation between the earth and the moon, between the cell of your heart in one layer to that. Those cells, that moon, that earth, that sun, what keeps them separate from each other? We always talked about it, we never understood. Now we have to understand. Earth moves around the sun, but what keeps Earth moving around the sun? What keeps it is constant speed and constant distance. The fields, magnetic fields of the two systems. The field strength of the two. In the world of science, we have ignored that. And with the plasma technology, we're covering it. So the knowledge is complete. I am the moon, or I am the sun, and I sit so much distance from the sun or from the earth. What dictates this separation? What dictates in what position, no speed, I rotate around it or around myself? If you don't have energy, how do you want to run? If you are not rotating to create fields interaction, how do you want to rotate around another field? So what is the principle of the motion? You don't have legs. We accepted Earth rotates, we accepted the sun rotates, we accepted that we rotate around the sun. But we always ignore the fields, which are creators. Separation, distance, speed. And the Keshe plasma technology is about this. The connection lines, the separation lines, what creates and how much of it creates what distance and what separation. And does this create interaction? We call it emotion. Then we understand what is about this new technology. Why Keshe Foundation technology and plasma technology are so different. Because we are filling in the gap. We are filling the gap, the distance between the earth and the sun. What is in this gap? How does it exist? Why doesn't earth stick to the sun? And why doesn't moon stick to the earth? And what causes this separation and rotation? And who dictates where and how to run? This is the Keshe Foundation technology. This is the space technology we talk about. You are happy with your rocket. We are happy how to get your rocket where you want to be in the fastest way using the field interaction. They are putting a rocket fuel in the back, like the Chinese bonfire. This is what the new technology is. Understanding the interaction of the fields, the knowledge of the gap between the entities, what has dictated it, what is creating it, what is maintaining it, and what the strength gives what maintenance, what gap. If you understand this, then you see the picture is complete. The science of knowledge of the creation of the universe, when you have a matter, you know why is there, what's the gap of it, why it creates 24 hours rotation, and why do we go around the sun, and in all that time, what is in between us and it, and why do we see all these changes? The same is the soul of the man. Why do we have a separation with another soul? How do we interact with the soul? How fast, how much enlightenment, in what the strength of soul is that understands more, sees more of, or why the strength of our soul is not there to understand. Is it the consumption of adding more fields in it because it's dynamic, the way we do? If you understand it, as I explained before, to a scientist, and maybe you understand more of today about yourself. But we speak about the dynamic reactors. We say we have a control. We can add and change it. So we can create different magnetic fields. So we have different magnets of everything. Well, up to now was only magnet of metals. Now we have the capability to adjust the field strength of our reactors. So we can expand the fields, we can reduce the fields, we can create different fields or whatever. Isn't that enlightenment? Isn't this what man does by eating different foods, by adding knowledge? Does the knowledge brings enlightenment, or does the food you eat allows you to be enlightened, that you understand more? Who's adjusting the filter of your knowledge? Who's adjusting the feed of the material into your soul that you create more lights and you become enlightened? Now you understand the knowledge of creation is the same. Be it the earth and the sun, be it the two reactors, or be it the soul of the man. If you're not facing it, how can you see the light? And when you pass it, you're on the dark side because you're not interacting. But it doesn't mean you're on the dark side in respect to the sun, but are you on the dark side in respect to the moon? Are you on the dark side in respect about another entity? Or are you creating lights with it? So in each direction, you create different lights according to what fields you interact. Now you understand the knowledge of the plasma is the knowledge of creation, the fields in between, the understanding of the interaction of the fields, which creates condition of separation for matter state or plasma state or another bunch of plasmas. The most beautiful subject in the world is physics, if you understand it. But the most beautiful subject in the world is interaction of magnetic fields and their plasma. That's always heard. Life doesn't start with matter. Life starts with the fields. Interaction of the fields creates a plasma. Interaction of the plasmas creates physics. And interaction of the two plasmas of physics creates chemistry. And then multiple of it is biology, and the multiple of it is the essence of enlightenment of the soul. And then when enough souls interact and work together, become the soul of the creator. And this is what in Arabic has been said from the beginning to there. We understand the totality. We understand the beauty and the creation. We understand the totality. We understand the love because we are part of that love. We created that soul, and that soul is us, which is created within us. Then you understand the change, the knowledge. Then you understand the clarity of the science. Without the matter state, we as the plasma physicists cannot confirm anything because we are just fields in the universe traveling nowhere. or we create another plasma that we can confirm the existence of another infrared pulse. If your knowledge seekers understood in the past 5 minutes of teaching, you have entered, you have the key to the world of creation. And that will be the best thing for all of us. Any questions?
All right, we have a question in YouTube. Let's get this lined up from Jared. Does intelligence mean the ability that one can balance one's own fields and can create more field strengths through his own field strengths and interact with other plasma?
Can you repeat that again? You got the answer in your own question.
Yes, possibly. Does intelligence mean the ability that one can balance one's own fields and can create more field strengths through his own field strengths and interact with other plasma?
What does intelligence have to do with the totality? Or does the intelligence we call is enlightenment? And the beauty of it is that how much of it do I understand? And how much of it do we want to comprehend that we have the intelligence to understand? Then I think you will find the answer yourself. Intelligence, you might understand in intelligence, knowledge of another creation, which to you on this planet has no meaning. But when you arrive by accident or by choice, because your soul knows you're going to end up in this environment in the coming time, and then you understand you already have the knowledge. You've been in, what do you call it? You've been pre-taught. Where on earth this had no meaning. Now, for you, it has a meaning. Because then you say, oh, it's deja vu. I don't know why I've been here before. Have you been enlightened to the knowledge of presence? I was with one of the knowledge seekers very recently, and she said, I don't feel good today. There is something wrong. And it doesn't feel good. And by the end of the day, it wasn't that good. It didn't turn up the right way. And I sat in the evening and I thought the soul knew it was going to be a bad day today, but the physicality wasn't aware of it. It was pre-telling about what the soul itself is going to do. And in a way, it was planning the party to go on its own to the party. And it was a time to confirm that. It was a time in a physical way to achieve, to pre-tell enlightenment of the soul. In a way, you plan, I'm going to the party, and this party, I'm going to wear this kind of dress, and I'm going to behave like this. Now, the soul has done the job. The soul has, in a way, preset everything for everything to be done. And the physicality had no clue. But in a way, it's a dream, you have watched it, physicality knew that the soul is moving that way. And the souls already knew what's the outcome of this, because that's what it was supposed to be. Because that interaction of the soul, that physicality representation of the soul emotion, creates a condition that other souls have to interact and respond. And what would that response be? Would have created the next generation of disciples, which what they were involved in had to be done. And it's amazing. You look at the condition in the physical dimension, but you look at the same situation through the soul, through the field, and then it has totally different meaning, different understanding, and different purpose. And I sat back and I said, poor chap, who didn't know what the soul was telling it is going to do. But the feeling was that I don't feel good, something is wrong, because I knew I would be naughty in this party, and my naughtiness would bring others people to do something with me or with it and create a new condition. But none of the other souls knew, because I'm going to be decided to be a naughty one in a physical dimension. Is it enlightened? Is it preset? Or was it agreed by the souls who are collectively work with the soul that you do this, the outcome will be what it needs to be. And then with it, you find freedom. Because now you carried out the wishes of your soul, but your physicality was totally ignorant to it till it puts you in this. How many times you said to yourself, why did I do this? This is not my character. Change the position. My soul create the condition that my physicality carried on, because the other souls were set to show this reaction because of what I did physically. And then you look at the life differently. Then you don't call it, I don't know why I did this, I don't understand, this is not my character, this is the arrangement of the souls. Does not matter what your character is or what you do. We see this beautifully on the 11th of November. Many of you who attend the 11th of November, you'll be shocked in what is to come and what is to be inspired and what is to bring the change. It'll be interesting to see what will come out of 11th of November meeting of the ambassadors. Would we end up? Are we setting up the scene for the world peace through ambassadors negotiating during the conference, breaking the ice, interacting of the soul, or sets up the new condition? As I said, it's so interesting to see how and where and the way we will move. And our soul is just preset to it. But we're just there to carry out the physicality. And then you see what the other physicalities do, which moves their soul to a new dimension. Is it enlightenment? Is it the education of the soul? Or is it part of us learning about ourselves in both dimensions? Very interesting if you understand. Very interesting to see you're just a pawn in the game of souls, and you thought you're setting up the game for the souls to interact, but you actually yourself are played up by the souls to carry out the physicality and the things for it, for the change of dimension of existence. Any other question?
Okay, let's see here.
I would like to suggest something while we're on this topic. What I would like knowledge seekers who and then the ambassador meeting is to write your wish without a name on a piece of paper in multiples and give it to the ambassador you meet. Give it to another knowledge seeker you meet.
and wait and see what happens with your wish. A lot of you will write, I wish world peace. But go a step further. I give you everything possible that you can create that condition of peace for yourself and for those who you represent. And then see the image that they receive a free gift because you give a soul to them, you enlighten them. And this will bring in a lot of thoughts. And the other question.
Okay, we have a question from Peng Peter in YouTube. If hopping onto the fields to travel is like driving a car on the motorway, would a traffic jam or congestion ever occur?
Get a few magnets and put them on the table and push them and you see. Get a few magnetic poles, the ones which are very traditional now, put them in and see if you get a traffic jam. Unless somebody drives the wrong way and get everybody attracted to it. But when that happens, you call it accident. I call it the new stronger soul. It's created from the interaction of it. What would that will do? That all the other magnets in the set have their own souls. It'll be a very interesting result. And then you see if you create a traffic jam. If you keep to the pattern of life, it should be no traffic jam. Do we see traffic jam of the stars? Do we see traffic jam of galaxies? Magnetically, they position themselves. Even if they get squeezed, they still have a gap in distance. Any other question?
Okay, in our Q&A here, a question through Cristiano from Brazil. Question for Mr. Keshe. So that I can understand, is the subconscious and the soul of physicality the same thing? And how do we interact with it so that it can help us with something in the physical life?
Can you repeat again?
He's asking, is the subconscious and the soul of physicality the same thing? And how do we interact with it?
Is subconscious interaction of the soul of the earth. With the soul of physicality. You can't have something on its own and call it subconscious if it's not interacting with something else to create that condition. Is the subconscious the interaction of the fields of the physicality and the soul of it? What we call soul of physicality, or we call it the spirit. I have explained this before. We have two types of emotion. One emotion is the interaction of the fields of the physicality with the soul of physicality. And one is between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. But there's a third one, which is again is the interaction of the fields of the physicality with the soul of the man. This is where you stand at the traffic light and you suddenly find yourself pulled back and the car passes you. The soul of physicality very astute, but the soul of the man protects the physicality by interacting with it, overriding the soul of physicality. Then you find out there is no such an answer to such a complex interaction, because there
other dimensions of the, what we call emotion, which again is the story of the mass and the weight. When the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of man interact and create that emotion, while the soul of physicality and the physicality of man creates that emotion, what does the interaction between these two emotions create? Subconsciousness, a more purified field interaction of higher order, which understands, enlightened to more than what the soul is available to, or sort of realities aware. When you talk about these things, work without prejudice and understand that every interaction creates another interaction, that interaction interacts with the interaction it was created out of. This is how we call I am the beginning and I am the end, because I created out of this creation. I get created. Any other question?
Well, you may have answered the second question from Brazilian community, which is also on subconscious. It says the subconscious attends to human thought and emotion, creating things in our physical life. That is when we have thoughts aligned with a strong emotion. Please explain the relationship between this and the soul. I think you have just done that.
I said that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other?
From Saeed, who says, Mr. Keshe, can we create new plants using plasmatic biology?
Yes, why not? But you have to understand everything about the plant. We don't call it plasmatic modification, but it's a creation on its own.
Okay, Saeed also, go ahead, sorry.
So any other question?
He asks, will the plasma energy apps improve the life of people in every aspect? Plasma energy apps. I guess means maybe applications of the plasma energy will improve the life of people.
Of course it does. It does. It does. You see, we're all aware of the knowledge. We all understand it. Mastering its application. We, as I've told you before, in the past few days, one of our knowledge seekers came with a problem of health for one of the members of the family. They're all very knowledgeable knowledge seekers. They know everything as much as I do. And I just said, you know what you need to do? Just do this and do that. And something which is impossible in the world of wellness happens to the person and within minutes. It's not that they're any different in knowledge than me, but I understand more about the fields of interaction, about conditions needed and conditions created to interact the fields. And that's the difference. And they come by experience. And sometimes you don't need anything to do. It's just knowing how and where to interact your field with. I have spoken about this many times about Naomi in the hospital. After 30 days of accident, standing outside through the glass window, only by thoughts, only by interaction of the soul, I made arms and the legs move, dancing. And there were 10, 20 people witness to it. And Giovanni was standing on top of the bike. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to go in there and do. It's just my connection to the soul. It's the soul which moves the physicality. And we are masters in it, but we don't abuse it. With a click of finger, with one thought, I can bring every president without anyone telling them to sign a world peace and dissolve. But what we're going to do with the generals, and what we're going to do with those who work in the armies and make the guns for them. So we have to teach them the peaceful way that man does not make the gun. Does not matter who is the president and who is the nation or the star of the planet. This is the difference. And you need to understand that. And then you come to the point that, as always said, in this cycle, we are not magicians. We let you understand the magic. Then nobody can magic. Any question?
A question from Pamela of the Brazilian community. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Do the souls of humanity, upon death or transmutation, entering the flow of the Earth's poles, become part of the process of creating the maggrav fields and inertia of the planet, and then go on to participate in the creation of other parts of the universe by the same process?
Everything is connected to everything. In the whole creation, everything is connected. You have to find the path.
Okay, from two guy in our Q&A. Hello, Mr. Keshe. What is the reason that the soul is hiding from the physicality? Or why doesn't the creator show itself in front of its creation? Thank you for being amongst us.
It does. The man is blind. It does. The man is blind. And it calls a dream. Any other question?
From Hassan, good day, Mr. Keshe. And again, thank you for another astounding teaching. In the last Knowledge Seekers workshop, you talked briefly about GANs of GANs. Can you elaborate more about it and give us some applications on what we can do with GANs of GANs? Thank you.
We've talked about this quite in the past a lot, and you can do a lot with it. There's a stage that you can even go further to make ganses of the ganses of the ganses. But you have to understand how to create a condition for it to be created. And it has many, many applications. But in a way, the knowledge seekers are not, they don't want to understand it. It's a little bit too far. And how can you understand something happens when there's nothing there for something else to happen, but it happens? So application of it is elevation of the soul in so many ways. Elevation of understanding. but it has to be in the right way. It has to be done in the correct way. And at the same time, that soul has to be ready to accept it. You can take a horse to the water, but you can never make it to drink. And this is the key. And this is the key to the existence of them. And if you understand it, you understand the totality of the creation. And you there is something I have to mention. We are looking at it. We don't bring it in yet. We just wait to see how far it goes. But sooner or later, we will block and stop those who are attending the London conference for a weekend. Because once we reach a number, we don't have many openings left. You have to understand that we still have 200 knowledge seekers which come from the week of the training, adding to this. And to find a venue in 400 or 500 numbers which accommodates security and everything else, and it's a formidable task. So those of you who are attending the London conference or for the weekend of it, please complete as fast as you can, because we're going to block it. We have to block it. We have a lot of you will be asked prior to attending to link to what they call it, provide a lot of details for us. And this is part of what we call the security structure. You have ambassadors, you have politicians, you have dignitaries, and even though you're knowledge seekers and you're middling and down amongst them, well, the governments want to make sure they're secure. So from sometime in September, we start what we call security vetting. Not right now, so we hand it over to national government security vetting. So please understand, we have a limited numbers we can allow on top of the knowledge that we attend the session for the week before. Any other question?
Well, we have a question from Ryan or Ryan. I'm not sure how we can address it, but I'll just give you the question, and we'll have to be careful because it has medical connotations, but perhaps we can address it differently.
Do not even bring it in. Do not even bring it in. Do not even risk it.
All right. From Philip, I'll say the paragraph here, and I'll just take it for what it is. So Philip says, so service onto the creation has no limits to create that inertia in yourself for expansion of the soul. And wouldn't kids be doing it all the time, seeing they are enlightened by the smallest things in life, but just don't know what's happening, like waking up in your sleep, flying in a white light? So it's more of a statement than a question, but we can just leave it as it is. We have another question I have to translate. Give me a moment here. In Italian, from Dolores in the Q&A, who says, I would like to know if the GANs of the GANs is thought, thinking, or thoughts. Is that the GANs of the GANs?
In a way, it could be, if you explain it that way. Any other question?
Okay, you've covered the Q&A. Let me go back to YouTube. We had a question from Filippo in YouTube. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Can you expand a little on how to contain neutron GANs?
Please go to, what do you call it? To Fukushima Center. They have a need for it. They can help you a lot. And contain everything there. Neutron GANs, first of all, if you understand what the neutron GANs is. Claiming it does not mean making it. Any other question?
I think you've actually covered all the questions that we have outstanding here.
I wanted to finish less than 2 hours today, so my wish. Thank you very much for today. Please, those of you who are coming to Manchester, we'll see you on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. The reason we start at 10 because Manchester is a busy place, 9 o'clock pushing into getting in there, harassed is no good. So the sessions are from 10 till 6 or 10 till 5. And as is usual, traditional with the Keshe Foundation on the last day on Friday night, or we call it the last supper, we all eat together. We book a restaurant somewhere and we go for the last night of the session. Please come without expectation. Come in with a clear mind and let's see what you take back with you. Because what you take back with you will be elevated so much by the time you meet us back in London. And then we'll see the next cycle. Because what you make and what is gathered as energy in the London conference comes from those who are in that 1 week of conference. This is a peace condition. This is elevation of the soul of the world leaders. And the conditions are not so good for many of our leaders in the level of their souls. And we try to bring to that position. Those of you who have enrolled or registered for the, what you call, printing up of your soul, as I call it, you will see the traces of the interaction with your souls. You will get invitation, some for next week and some for the week after the, what you call it, the Manchester session. So, some of you will be invited to be with us. We'll give you the date to receive an email. Please check your junks continuously because some of our emails end up in your junk and say, I don't know, I wasn't invited. We try to meet most of your requests on the time, but you'll be invited in half an hour session. Be on time because when you miss it, we have to put you back for next session, what could be. So, those of you who want register for meeting of your, what do you call it, being able to see the representation of the field of your soul and how you actually are, how you feel, how your feeling in truth is in the background, traces itself.
what is the conflict between your soul and solar physicality? What's the conflict between your physicality and your soul? You will see it in the graph. And it'll be interesting how synchronized you are, how in touch you are with each other. Does not matter how you think you are. The machine does not lie. The man always lies himself. So it'll be interesting. Those of you who registered for the sessions of what do you call it, to see the structure of the soul, in the next few days you will receive an invitation for that session. And most probably we'll see you again next week, but on the following Monday, we meet those who join us in Manchester. Now we start a new journey, all of us together for the next cycle. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we'll see you in the next few days. But please, for the London conference weekend, make sure once we close it, we ask you very early on to provide us with all your names and details. That you have to be vetted as the dignitaries and ambassadors present, and it's very, very tight, especially when the Americans turn out. Is mayhem. They think they own the world, and we have to show them they're all equal. This is one of the biggest problems why American ambassadors don't turn out, because their security is so bad that they don't even trust their own pocket. That's another others. Thank you very much for today. We'll meet you in the next session next week.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. And we get my screen up here. So this has been the 499th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Our next public teaching workshop is the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace, and that's coming up on Tuesday, August 22nd. And that starts at the 4 p.m. Central European time. So people are invited to attend with members of the Universal Council who will be presenting that program. Again, that's Tuesday, August 22nd, starting at 4 p.m. Central European time. Okay, I think that's it for our announcements for now. Thank you very much again, Mr. Keshe, for being here for 499 Knowledge Seekers workshops. And number 500 will be another week from now, God willing, as they say. Okay, we'll go out with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit music version as per usual here. And I wish you all a good day and a beautiful week. Bye for now.